And welcome to our invitational town hall for Senator Dan Sullivan. My name's Ken. I'll be your host this evening. This is absolutely the best $50 I've ever spent. Before we start, there is recording of this event tonight, and you're welcome to record as well. The emergency exits are clearly marked with the red exit signs, 2 in the back, 1 up here to the front. I'd like to start us off by inviting everyone to join me in just a moment of quiet reflection, gratitude for everyone who's helped us be here together as neighbors in this space. Thank you. So how did we get here? A couple weeks ago, when everyone started losing their jobs and losing their minds, a group of us who have been, shall we say, actively providing feedback to our senators and representatives, discussed how it would be nice to actually get some FaceTime with our representatives, with our senators, and discussed maybe having some kind of in-person event to make that happen. Senator Murkowski had an event recently. Representative Begich had an event with his open house recently, even though it was kind of small and hard to get into. He did make the effort. Senator Sullivan, as far as I'm aware, hasn't done an in-person event in like 4 years, basically since re-election. So we selected him as being our preferred candidate to invite to an event like this. We reached out to his office, to his people, to all of the various offices throughout the state, trying to get a hold of him, telephonically, in person, via email, multiple contact methods were tried. We didn't give him a whole lot of time to respond. To be perfectly fair to the guy, we just wanted to get something to happen, and we made something happen. We gave him about 5 days. He did respond in the negative. In fact, when the person who finally got a call back said, well, we're just going to have the event anyway, they hung up on him. So there's maybe not a whole lot of respect for us having our voices heard. So we're proceeding without him. We're still going to conduct this as a town hall. We're going to take turns talking, hopefully get a variety of voices and perspectives heard. And we have hundreds of blank public opinion message forms in back, and a box. You can fill them out and toss them in there, and we will deliver them either to him in person or to his office next Monday. We're going to try to come up with the best way to deliver those as directly to him as we can, but they will be delivered to him or his team. So for this evening, Bella will be our facilitator, and they are going to make sure as many voices can be heard as possible. Bella.
Hello, everyone. All right, so we don't have any strict time limits, but because there are a lot of people in the room, I just ask that you be a little mindful of time. We want you to be able to tell your personal story. We want you to be able to ask the questions you would ask the senator, but in an effort to get as many people to be able to speak as possible, just perhaps be mindful of time, please. If you wouldn't mind, please come fill in the chairs. We have a few single seats up here, and we have 2 right in the front. We would like there to be room to exit in the event of an emergency, so as many people as seated as possible, the better. All right. Okay, so we're gonna have people, there isn't a lot of space to line up, but if there's anybody that wants to get started and would like to speak, please go ahead and head to one of the microphones on either end. And I guess state your name and say whatever you'd like.
Okay, thank you. My name's Susan Rainey. I'm a 50-plus resident of Fairbanks.
One moment. The mic is not working. Okay, you just got to get a little closer to the mic. Get real up close and personal.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good.
My name's Susan Rainey. I'm a 50-plus resident of the great state of Alaska. I'm sorry that the senator has chosen not to join us today. I think that's cowardly. But I would ask him how he can justify supporting tax cuts for the wealthy and corporations while indiscriminately laying off hardworking civil servants and veterans. I do not support Elon Musk's efforts and support the separation of powers our country is founded on.
Good question. I guess the senator doesn't have an answer. All right, you guys, please feel free to come up when you feel called to do so.
I'm Mark Johnson. I'm a resident of Fairbanks. Senator Sullivan, I'm also disappointed you couldn't make time for this. In a place unusual for a sitting president to deliver a speech, the Department of Justice became a venue 2 days ago for President Trump to talk directly to Pam Bondi and DOJ prosecutors. In that speech, he pointed out, to his mind at least, the left-leaning media and left-leaning lawyers who are critical of him. He specifically called out CNN, MSNBC, Norm Eisen, Mark Elias, Mark Pomerantz, and others, referring to them as scum, horrible people, really bad people, etc., thugs. You get my drift. He called their actions heinous crimes. In my opinion, Trump's remarks have no place at the DOJ and provide clear evidence of the language of fascism and authoritarianism. My question for you, Senator, is does President Trump's language and direct messaging to the leadership of the DOJ and to the DOJ prosecutors concern you? If not, why not? If so, what action will you take? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and please don't feel uncomfortable just standing at a mic and waiting. To be quick and try to get to as many people as possible, we want to kind of get through this as fast as possible.
Hello, my name is Sue Keller. Greetings, Senator Sullivan. Donald Trump is damaging our nation and attacking our freedoms. As an Alaska voter, I'm asking you to tell Trump you disapprove of the action he has taken. Trump has told hundreds of thousands of lies. He is destabilizing the world order. He killed USAID. He denigrates NATO. He is threatening the sovereignty of Canada, Panama, and Greenland. He has sympathy for Putin and Russia. He lied that Ukraine started the war in Russia. He enforced tariffs and caused the stock market to dive. He says he likes autocrats. Froze funds for many projects in Alaska and nationwide. Has fired millions of government employees, 1,400 in Alaska. Trump is demolishing the education department. He has cut funding for housing for the nation's poor. He threatened Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. He removed web pages for women and people of color buried in Arlington National Cemetery. He is deporting a green card holder for exercising free speech that he did not like. He is demanding revenge on lawyers whose work he does not agree with. He pardoned 1,400 felons, January 6 felons, 150 of them violent. Senate Republicans, including you, have not spoken up. You need to confront Trump and tell him his actions are harming U.S. citizens and world order. Please do your best to protect democracy in the United States of America. Why haven't you spoken up?
Good question. Will you speak up, Senator Sullivan? And really quickly, just one more time, if somebody wouldn't mind filling up that mic so you can go right after, I would appreciate it. Please go ahead.
Senator, my name is James Aldridge. I attended the hearing in Washington, D.C. on the 4th of March and went to your office. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to stay long enough to see you. Anyway, it was a love fest, to say the least, and the VFW, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, put forth their agenda, which was well received. But Now I'm going to switch to a different subject. I hold in my hand a letter which I have sent to you twice now from the 34th Alaska State Legislature by Senator President Gary Stevens and House Speaker Bryce Edgman regarding the federal cuts that are coming our way to the state of Alaska and what the effect is going to be. And so far, I have not heard from your office or you, and I would still like a written reply to this letter. Thank you.
Thank you. Please go ahead and start when you're ready.
Okay. Am I close enough? I'm a little nervous.
Deep breath, you're good.
Thank you. Okay. Hello, my name is Molly Coe, and I live in Fairbanks, Alaska, zip code 99709. I cannot tell you how many times I've said this into an answering machine over the last 2 months and heard next to nothing back. Hello, Dan. Are you there? It's me, your constituent. Since I can't get you on the phone, and I don't have an extra $100 to attend the Republican Women's Luncheon on Friday, this forum, which you've refused to be a part of, will have to do. So, Dan, answer me this. Do you know who Hitler came after first? Because I do. He came for queer folks, he came for trans folks, and he came for disabled folks. So what I want to know is this. When are you going to say something about the egregious bills trying to erase our trans siblings? When are you going to rally for your constituents who are afraid they might be disappeared because they don't agree with the genocide or they have a different skin color from you? When are you going to stand up and work on legislation that protects our elders and our kids, which includes Social Security benefits, Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, and WIC? Why haven't you said anything about our parks and libraries being defunded? Where have you been as this administration has systematically stripped us of vital government services like the Department of Education, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, like NOAA, and like the Postal Service? Where is your outrage that an ill-equipped, poorly prepared idiot of a billionaire who hasn't been elected or appointed is handling private, sensitive information of your constituents and taking an axe to anything he sees fit? Damn the consequences. But mostly, Dan, I want to know this. Are you hiding from us? Are you hiding from the people who want to hold you accountable? The people you are responsible to? Because we are tired of it. It's time to come out and face the music, Dan. Just because we're not attending your paid-for event doesn't mean you can ignore us. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Violetta Knight. I've lived in Fairbanks 43 years. I was stationed here. I sent this message 3 weeks ago, but I didn't get a response, so I'm just going to read it again. Senator Sullivan, I'm a U.S. Army veteran and a 43-year resident of Fairbanks, Alaska. I served my country, and so did my husband and many of my siblings, going all the way back to my oldest brother serving in Vietnam and receiving the Purple Heart Award for bravery. All that to say that I'm shocked at the actions of this newly elected president and this unelected South African billionaire, Elon Musk. What in the world are you doing to put them in check? U.S. citizens' private information is being shared, people are being fired in large numbers, and you and Republicans are standing by watching, not being a check or balance. Please do your job, sir.
We can give a moment of silence and wait for Senator Sullivan's response, maybe. I don't think he's going to say anything. Okay, please start when you're ready.
Okay. Hi, my name is Gwen Hennon. I'm a Fairbanks resident. I would like to say that a strong state economy depends on a strong university, and I'm paraphrasing from Dan Sullivan's own words to me about 5 years ago when I visited him in his office. I have felt supported in the past by Dan Sullivan, where he has said to me that National Science Foundation funding and the strength of our university is really key to Alaska's economy, and I strongly believe that. Our university research and our research ecosystem in this state is pretty much entirely supported by the federal government and depends heavily on our federal agency partners. And these are Dan Sullivan's campaign materials that he sent to my house a few weeks ago. They highlight how important he thinks it is to develop an Alaska intellectual hub to improve research on Alaska salmon. I ask you, Mr. Sullivan, to please live up to your own words and your own campaign promises, and to please let your actions match what you have promised us in the past. I need you to speak up for these priorities, supporting our federal workforce who provide timely forecasts for weather that keeps us all safe in this state, literally life or death, our fisheries, our wildlife, so much more. In recent weeks, I'm really sad to say I have encouraged brilliant students who are based in the state to leave our country to pursue science because I fear for their future in this climate. Please speak up before it's too late because our talent, our future is going to leave if you don't.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brian Quackenbush. I live in Fairbanks. I would like to know what Trump's ulterior motive is in starting these ridiculous trade wars with our allies, most notably Canada. The old tired excuse that there's a fentanyl problem or that Le Chapeau, the terrible Canadian drug lord, is invading our country with fentanyl, when in reality more fentanyl travels from the US into Canada as well as illegal immigration. So I'd really like to know what the purpose behind all this stuff is. Could it possibly be that he wants to destroy Canada and make it our 51st state, which I find ridiculous and absurd? I just find all this trade war stuff totally indefensible. And I would urge Senator Sullivan, as well as your fellow invertebrates in Congress, to stand up and throw this bozo Elon Musk and others as far away from our government as they can possibly get. So, yeah, I'm a bit disgusted. All these cuts are insane. So anyway, we don't live in a kingdom.
Thank you for saying that. So true. So true. All right. We have 2 microphones empty. Ooh, now 1. If somebody wouldn't mind filling it while this person gives their testimony.
Hi, my name is Sarah Garland. I've lived in Fairbanks since 1982. Today, the Republican administration crossed yet another line, a particularly terrifying one. They have now openly defied a legal ruling by the courts. This was in regard to deportations. And I want to know, Senator Sullivan, what are you going to do to try to preserve the foundation of our government? We have 3 co-equal parts of government, and the legislative branch, you guys have been rolling over. And the executive branch is now trampling over the courts. What is going to happen? What are you going to do, Senator Sullivan?
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Art Galvin. I've asked Mark Begich, or Nick Begich, I guess it is. I've asked Sullivan on a regular basis about last week or so, last couple weeks. I'm required to submit my 5 bullets on a weekly basis, and I've asked each one of these guys every week now for their 5 bullets of what they've done for us each week. I have not seen a response from him yet, and that's what I asked for him if he was here. What did he do for me this last week? I want his 5 bullets, so thank you.
What are your 5 bullets, Senator Sullivan? All right, guys, there are 2 empty microphones. Please come on up if you feel called to. Happy to have somebody stand there and wait a moment if possible.
Good evening. My name is Ariane Glover. I live in North Pole, Alaska. And as there are many things I could talk about, tonight I want to talk about national security as well as the war in Ukraine. Senator Sullivan, I am alarmed by what's happening between the current U.S. administration and Russia, including Secretary Hegseth's comments regarding peace with Russia, VP Vance's comments at the Munich Security Conference with U.S. allies, President Trump's recent calls to Vladimir Putin, the invitation to the White House, and peace talks held in Saudi Arabia with Russia about a war between Russia and Ukraine without including Ukraine. I'm concerned about President Trump repeating Russian propaganda through U.S. media. I'm concerned about the U.S. acting in opposition to and international exclusion of European allies. That threatens to dismantle NATO. Further, I'm concerned about President Trump's interest in partnering with Russia to gain access to critical minerals in Ukraine as well as Russian oil and gas reserves. As a senator in Alaska who claims to advocate for domestic production and extraction of oil and gas and minerals in our state, whether I agree with that or not, I believe that you should be alarmed too. The posturing of the current U.S. administration to obtain these resources from a foreign adversary, bypassing Alaska and going against everything that has been previously said about supporting U.S. manufacturing is completely at odds with the message President Trump campaigned on. As our senator, I expect you to call a spade a spade. I have worked with DoD for over 15 years. I'm a former federal employee who planned to return to civil service after finishing my master's degree. However, now I'm forced to reevaluate my career and retirement plans and look out of state for employment. The reason I chose to go back to obtain my master's degree working in the Arctic, specifically in Alaska, was after hearing Mike Sfraga, the now U.S. Arctic ambassador, speak at Eielson Air Force Base in 2016. Studying environmental and security issues in the Arctic, I have a good understanding of the history of peaceful and collaborative work within the Arctic Council and the Arctic 8. In fact, I was selected to attend the Model Arctic Council with members in Russia in the spring of 2022, prior to cancellation of the meeting following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. With that background, I am deeply concerned about what's happening with the US, Russia, Ukraine, and European allies. And I would think that as a former Marine, you did not serve our country in the military for 30 years to see a sitting US president stand side by side with a Russian autocrat, dictator, and oligarch, your pick, with fascist tendencies. I am asking that the Alaska delegation stand shoulder to shoulder in denouncing the current actions, statements to, and negotiations by Russia, with Russia by the Trump administration. Now is the time to stand up for Alaskans, for Americans, and remind the current administration of the need to reinforce its commitments to NATO and our allies. The U.S. must stand with those that oppose Russia and speak out against Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Russia is not the avenue the U.S. should be taking to obtain resources under any circumstances, and I hope Congress can find their unified voice in this. Thank you.
Thank you. If you wouldn't mind spreading out just a little bit, we could probably get one more person back here, just for time, if anybody wants to get in line. Feel free to start when you're ready.
Okay. I'm Roberta Barnes. I've been in Alaska now for 50 years. Senator Sullivan, what is your red line before you will publicly defend the Constitution and we the people? You voted for all of Trump's unqualified, billionaire, out-of-touch cabinet members. You've done nothing to stop an unelected, unaccountable Musk, who has many conflicts of interest, unfettered access to gut government programs, and mine our personal data, allowing him to make uninformed decisions about how our government should be run. You said nothing about the illegal rescinding of funds Congress approved, especially for programs that help the most vulnerable of us. Crickets about the cruel, illegal, arbitrary firing of thousands of dedicated civil servants who work to our benefit. You had no comment about Trump and his administration's attacking judges and federal prosecutors he disagrees with, while ignoring court orders and the rule of law. Silence about the gutting of whole departments like the EPA, the CDC, the FDA, the CFPB, FAA, and others that are there to keep us safe from pollution, disease, foodborne illness, financial fraud, and aviation disasters, and more. You've been quiet about Trump's threatening the sovereignty of our allies with hostile financial or even military takeovers. And after all the criticism of Biden about supporting Ukraine, no pushback from you on Trump's withdrawing support from Ukraine unless they make concessions to the US for minerals and Russia for land, and no promise to join NATO. You're asking nothing of Russia, who brutally invaded Ukraine unprovoked. You've had no word against Trump's attacks on the free press. I could go on. Your silence has been deafening. Our Constitution is under attack, and we the people will suffer. Just when are you going to stand up, speak for the people, and stop Trump and Musk from turning our country into a dictatorship of oligarchs? Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, President Mr. Sullivan, and my name is Diane Darnall, and I've been in Fairbanks over 50 years, and I want to second everything everybody's already said here, and they've covered a lot of bases, and so I'm just going to hit a couple of them, just to keep your memory in Alaska. So we want to know, what are you doing to support Alaska? Represent us. You are our elected senator, so couple things. These tariffs, Canada's not happy with that, Mexico's not happy with that, so they're going to tax us, when they bring the trucks up to bring our food and our supplies up to Fairbanks and the interior of Alaska, they're going to tax all Alaskans. We're going to have to pay higher costs for our food and our supplies. And what are you doing about that? And the other thing is, I know a lot of seniors. And so what are you doing to protect our Social Security, our Medicare, and our Medicaid? So let's speak up. Come on, get your tongue loose and let's go. We need you.
Any response, Senator Sullivan? No.
Hi, Senator Sullivan. This is Patrice Lee, and I know you may be tired of reading my daily missives, but I would like to add to them. With Making America Great Again, I'd like to ask you, how are we supposed to deal with the chaos that we deal with daily? Trump's terrible tariffs, Musk's mayhem, Vance's vitriol. Well, that's not even the most important thing. The new administration has changed the meaning of illegal to mean anything that President Trump doesn't like or holds him to the rule of law. How do you intend to stand for and enforce the rule of law for Alaskans and the country? Continuing on, Trump has railed against those who want to work from home or maybe need to work from home. We understand that some people may need to go back to the office, but a good leader doesn't ask those they lead to do anything they wouldn't do themselves. At present, that eliminates most things you might ask them to do, Senator Sullivan or President Trump. Mar-a-Lago is your home, not your office. Your office is in Washington, D.C. And just a couple of other things that are really near and dear to my heart. The Department of Education has been an educator for most of my life, and also I've had a child who had disabilities, and I was grateful for the education he was able to receive. And I am deeply worried. Senator Sullivan, what are you going to do to protect education? Because it is not a thought that we want to stand on, that ignorant people are easier to control. We need intelligent, well-rounded, researched people who can look at things from a global point of view. And that's why you must stand for education. So please, this whole room here wants what's best for Alaska and for the country. Stand up, let's stand together, and stand for we the people.
Thank you. One moment. I see some people blocking the door. If we could try to keep that open in the case of an emergency, and there are a few empty seats that you can filter into if you'd like. All right, and I believe we're gonna go to you next, and then we'll be at you next.
Thank you. My name is Abel Wildito. What is going on right now is very personal to me. My parents were born under Nazi occupation. I only know my grandfather because my grandmother, with her two little sons, my father and my uncle, was blocking the Nazis at the front door so that my grandfather could run out the back and hide and be safe in the woods. So I know when I see a fascist, I know that that person is a fascist, right? Musk is a fascist. So what I'm asking, Senator Sullivan, from you is, when are you going to tell the fascists in the White House that they are done?
Thank you. Go ahead when you're ready.
Thanks. Senator Sullivan, my name is Lou Brown. I've lived in Fairbanks for about 40 years, and I say with pride that I'm not fit to live anywhere else. I look forward to working for the campaign to replace you in the U.S. Senate. I look forward to replacing you with someone who is responsible to Alaskans rather than the man who would be a dictator. You deserve to lose your seat to someone who serves the people of Alaska, and I can't wait.
Great. We'll go to you, and then we'll go to you. But just really quickly, I just said it, but if we could keep our emergency exits clear, the library would really appreciate it. There's a seat right up here if anyone wants to take it. And there's floor space if you feel inclined to sit on the floor, though I won't require it. All right, we'll go over here.
Hannibal Grubus. I was camped on the banks of the Chena in the late 60s, right before the Great Flood with my parents. As a retired math teacher, I counted over 150 people in here. Senator Sullivan, what is your red line in the sand? Please articulate clearly what executive actions will be or already have violated that red line, violated the separation of powers, or are simply unconstitutional. If you do not clearly and publicly articulate your red line, you will continue along a slippery slope. What exactly will you do when your red line is crossed? There are many of us who have determined that this great nation is under attack from within.
Thank you. It's all you.
Senator Sullivan, hi, this is Shelby again. You should probably know my address by now. I leave you voicemails every single day. As a UPIC woman and a 100% disabled veteran with countless combat flying hours, I think I've earned at least one answer, one response from you. So I have to ask, what are you doing? What are you doing to protect the institutes and museums and libraries, to protect HUD housing and disaster support, to protect free speech by demanding the release of Mahmoud Khalil, to defend Section 504, to protect those with disabilities, to protect the Department of Education, to protect the National Forest from logging, to protect the EPA? Senator, what are you doing to condemn and stop the U.S. takeover of Gaza? What are you doing to protect our constituents? It feels ridiculous to remind a senator that every human being on U.S. soil is entitled to and protected by the Constitution. Yet every single day, violations have been occurring. And still, not a peep from you, in cardboard. We deserve answers. And just a reminder, you work for us.
Exactly. You work for us, Senator Sullivan. All right, we'll go to you, and then we'll come back over here.
Hi, I'm Molly Murphy. I've lived here for 10 years. I've raised my children here. And I just noticed today that, Senator, you are having a dinner for Republican women, $100 a plate. And I got to thinking, gosh, I wonder how many of those women kept their maiden name. Because if they did not, they may not be able to vote for you again. And I hear that you may not care about my concerns because I wasn't going to vote for you anyhow. But what about those women that are showing up and paying $100 for a dry pork chop to hang out with you? What about them? If you're not going to protect them, who are you here for?
Woo! Thank you.
My name's Dave Ronfola, Esther 99709. Senator Sullivan, I'm so puzzled by all of the Congress, Senate, and House of Representatives relinquishing their authority to continue to support the very laws and programs that you have enacted. You are letting the Trump administration dissolve all of your work and the work of hundreds of senators and representatives who came before you. And someday the tide may turn, and any precedent set by Trump and Elon Musk will possibly be standing when progressives are in power. And I doubt that you guys want that to happen, to have all that power in progressive hands. The other thing that really troubles me is that you, as a senator who has not stood up to Donald Trump to reduce all of the funding and support for veterans, your brothers and sisters in arms, you served 30 years in the Marines with the rank of, reaching the rank of colonel, you served in Afghanistan, you know what they have gone through. You know what they're living with right now, and they need to be supported. My father and uncle fought in World War II in the Pacific Theater and in Europe. I know other family members who were combatants in World War II, and I was raised to learn that hating Nazis is just about as American as hot dogs, apple pie,
There you go.
baseball. And I suspect that if your grandfather were alive, he'd kick your ass.
Thank you. That's probably true. Just one small thing. So in an effort to get as many people in the room as possible, if people want to come and stand behind Flat Dan, maybe watch his back a little bit, maybe he'd be more inclined to speak up, but you're welcome to filter up onto the stage if you feel so inclined to open up some space in the back. No pressure, though. All right. We're going to go right here. Oh, right here, and then right here. Thank you.
My name is Donald Callahan, and I was born in Fairbanks, Alaska. Senator Sullivan, I want you to decide sometime that Donald Trump was a big mistake for being elected by the Republican Party, and why don't you and the Republican Party, the leaders of our country, make that decision and remove him from office? He needs to be impeached. He and probably also his vice president.
Thank you. All right, it's all you.
Thanks. My name is Victoria McDermott, and I'm sorry if y'all have heard this one before. So many folks came in. I was in overflow for a long time, so Dan, I just want you to know, over 150 people came, and you didn't show up.
Yeah.
So I'd personally like to know, what are the 5 things that you've done, Dan Sullivan, in the last week to support and benefit working class Alaskans? I'd like to ask you, how does your support for the current executive branch decisions and refusal to do your job benefit working class Americans? Our children who rely on school lunch programs, our veterans who rely on VA programs, our economy, which depends on skilled and educated labor, our tourism, which relies on federal workers and national parks. How do these policies and cuts benefit us? I know it'd be a lot easier to exploit the land and natural resources without people here, yet we persist, and now we resist.
Thank you. Like I said, guys, if you want to come watch Dan's more inclined to, I don't know, speak. But also, in an effort of space, I would appreciate if somebody brave would come and stand back here. All right, yeah, you're up, and then we'll go back over here.
Hi, Flat Dan. This is Sarah Furman. My voice is probably familiar to you by now. I have a few questions. First, where are you? Why are you willing to show up for people who pay, but not for the rest of us who are also your constituents? Second, when will you speak out and call for ICE to free Mahmoud Khalil? He's a lawful permanent resident, and I want you to ensure that all people legally residing in this country will have their First Amendment rights protected and will not be unlawfully detained or deported. Third, how does it make you feel to know that you are more qualified than any of the cabinet members you voted to confirm? Not saying much.
Good point, good point.
But what I want to ask about most is how you're going to protect the people of Alaska from the gutting of Social Security and Medicaid. Yeah. Will you pay for our elders' groceries if their Social Security payments fail to come? Will you take them into your home if they are evicted because they can't pay their rent? Will you say to the children whose parents die because they lose health care coverage and can't afford life-saving treatment that you're sorry? Are you aware that much of our hospital and fire department's income comes from Medicaid payments? Where do you suggest the people of Fairbanks go for hospital services if the Fairbanks Memorial Hospital has to close its doors without these payments? To think that you can make these cuts without deadly impacts on the people is outrageous and out of touch. I look forward to hearing the answer to these questions.
Thank you. Reminder, feel free to come up to the mic if you see it's empty, and feel free to line up maybe 2-3 people max behind each one. And you guys can spread over there if you want. The floor is yours whenever you're ready.
Senator Sullivan, my name is Linda Casassa, and I have some questions about President Trump's tax cuts. First, let's look back on the first time. Those tax cuts benefited the people on the inaugural platform more than the rest of the country combined. The national debt went up. We have budget issues because of his tax cuts, and now he wants to put them in again. These tax cuts benefit the rich, and that's why you're talking about cutting Medicaid and Social Security and the very fabric of our country. Please support your constituents and look at those tax cuts. I'll take one, but I made $20,000 last year. Thank you, Social Security, and my retirement. People that the tax cuts are benefiting the rich on the backs of the poor and your constituents. I would rather have a firefighter than the $11 Elon Musk is going to send to all of us. I would rather have a government that was not erratic, that was not scaring the rest of the world. Please save our democracy and speak up.
Hear me all right? Hi, I'm Paul Sherry. I've lived here off and on 50 years. There's a lot of white-haired people in this room. I think that's either because of wisdom or worry these days. Am I right? Senator, I've tried to reach your office a lot in the last 2 months. I never get a person answering your calls in any of your offices, and you end up your message back to me saying, leave a message and have a great day. But I haven't been having too many great days recently. Really quickly, trying to absorb the fire hose of Trump's actions in the last 2 months, I feel like they boil down to about 5 areas. One is an attack on the Earth's resources for the wealth of the wealthy. Another is, I lost my notes. The expansion of territory, Panama, Canada, Greenland. What's that all about? Did any of us vote for that? The third is, I'm missing my notes here. Hang on. Ensuring white supremacy in America. There is a huge fear by the majority of Americans that somehow black, brown, Asian, and Native people are going to take over. What's that about? That's been around for years.
Yeah, what's that about?
Another one is ensuring political control by the wealthy over the middle and lower classes. And finally, revenge against Mr. Trump's enemies and ensuring that the government is not prepared to bring him back to justice again. Now, quickly, intelligent and informed Americans realize that these are abhorrent and that they're a contradiction to basic human values. We respect our earth. We respect other people's land and sovereignty. We respect other people's culture and their races. We respect other people's livelihood, and we respect the rule of law. We're going to get back to those places, but we're going to have to work together, and without individuals like you, Senator, we're not going to make it. You need to realize what's happening in our country and get behind the wise people. Thank you.
Thank you. One moment. If you want to head over. Oh. Okay.
Diana
You got it.
Sparacino. Senator Sullivan, where are you? As I was leaving the House today, I saw online that you'll be speaking this Friday at a paid dinner. Why is that more important than coming here to speak and hear your constituents in a town hall? Whether you like it or not, we are all your constituents. I have so many concerns, and I'm so happy that people are addressing these. I've been writing and calling your office for months now. But tonight, I'm going to make something very personal. I'm a 43-year resident here. I've been working since I'm 14, and I'm about to turn 68 years old. You can do the math. I've reached full retirement late last year. I applied for Social Security and just gave up my borough seasonal job. I also am a retired federal employee and took the same oath that you did. I want to know what you are doing to protect my and all the millions of other recipients of Social Security and Medicare. How are you protecting our personal information? How are you protecting the agency as a whole? What are you doing to protect my and all Americans' personal information, medical information, bank account? I've been asking you this question. How are you protecting us from this Daesh infiltration? And I have not gotten any answers, and I want to know what you are doing specifically and in detail. It's crickets. Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Okay. Good evening, Senator Sullivan. My name is Lauren Henry. I'm a relatively newcomer to Fairbanks, but I chose this place because of the culture of people supporting and helping each other no matter what. And I feel like you're not helping us. I can't understand all of these Doge cuts, and I'm hoping maybe you can enlighten me. If I wanted to cut waste and fraud from the budget, I'd start with an audit. Where are the accountants? Where are the auditors? Where are the people checking the numbers? As you can tell, I'm kind of a big person. If I wanted to lose weight, I'd get information from a nutritionist on what should come in. I'd get information from an exercise expert, whatever those are called, so that I could increase my output of energy. I would not cut off my arm and say, I've lost weight. But that's what Doge is doing to us. It is cutting our limbs off and saying they're saving waste and fraud. How can you defend them? Please answer me.
The floor is yours.
My name is Tim Quintel. I'm a resident of Fairbanks, Alaska, and have been for many years. Mr. Dan Sullivan, big, brave Marine, how can you sleep knowing that you have taken an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, and you remain silent while we have a president who is actively in the process of destroying that very Constitution and establishing a dictatorship? A president who at the end of his first term participated in an attempted coup about which you did nothing, and since his re-election is weaponizing the entire federal government against the free speech of anyone who criticizes or disagrees with him. We are living in a very dangerous time in this country, and it is incumbent on everyone who truly loves this country to take a stand. There are many brave souls who are speaking out at great danger to themselves, but what of you? So far, all we have seen of you is a sniveling coward curled up in a fetal position hiding in the closet, too scared to do or say anything. You are not fit to claim the title of a Marine or a senator. You need to stand up and defend your country, your whole country, not just those who agree with your beloved dictator. The time is now.
Thank you.
Hi, Senator. Jean Olson again. Sorry that you missed your meeting tonight. I think you probably are really a busy guy. There's lots of phone calls you're going to have to listen to, too, even again tomorrow morning. But maybe you had to stay in your room and work on that speech for Friday here. And that's okay, because I know you're probably really tired. And you know, we're getting pretty tired, too. We're so tired already, but we're not going away. We are not going away. You cannot keep us quiet. We will be here long after you.
Thank you. We're going to start over here, and then the floor will be yours.
Hi, my name is Aviv Snowberry. I have been a lifelong resident of Fairbanks and North Pole. And I have a question for you, Mr. Sullivan, a little different than the questions that have been asked. And as I'm sure you can tell, I don't have a lot in common with you. But one thing I do have in common is that I'm a person of faith, as I believe you also to be. My question is broadly, what do you do to uphold the teachings of your faith in how you conduct yourself in Congress? What do you do to protect the poor and the needy and the stranger? Just as the Bible says, for we were once strangers in Egypt. We're meant to be a country that welcomes the immigrant, that protects them, not illegally arrests them and loses them in the system, because there's currently, we don't actually know where many of these people have disappeared to. And so I think broadly my question is, to quote the Bible, that I'm sure you are also familiar with, my question is, what do you do to uphold the passage from Micah 6:8, which is that you have been told, O mortal, what is good and what God requires of you, only to do justice and to love goodness and to walk modestly with your God. What are you doing for that, Dan Sullivan?
Thank you. All right, and I just want to do a quick time announcement. We have to be out of this room, all 175 of us, at 7:30 because we have a lovely public library that is allowing us to be here, so just be mindful, please. The floor is yours.
Hi, Senator Sullivan. My name is Abby Naston, and it will be 3 years this month that I've lived in Alaska. It's great to meet you, I guess. I have never had a chance to do so before. So Senator Sullivan, tonight I'd like to tell you a story about the importance of Medicaid. So back in 2015, I needed to take medical leave from graduate school, and some very kind person told me that since I didn't have any income, I was actually eligible for Medicaid. I filled out the documents, and later that night, I woke up knowing that something was horribly wrong, and ended up being hospitalized for 36 hours with a previously unknown heart condition. Thanks to Medicaid, it didn't cost me anything. Thanks to Medicaid, and thanks to not being drowning in medical debt, when I got a job a few months later, I was able to financially sponsor my husband to get his green card to legally be in America. For many people who don't know, getting a green card is incredibly expensive. Because I wasn't drowning in medical debt, I was able to be financially secure and eventually be able to move up to the great state of Alaska and work for the state of Alaska. And thanks to my Union Health Trust 2 months ago, I was able to have a surgery that should permanently fix that heart condition that Medicaid paid for all those years ago. So it's really important that we save Medicaid, and I just want to say that, because of that, all those years ago, we were in a great financial position until a couple months ago, when, all of our savings started disappearing out of the stock market, and I don't know whether I will have a job long term because it's 100% federally funded. So, hey, Senator Sullivan, what are you doing about that? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to start over here, and then you'll go next.
Hi, Senator Sullivan. I'm Pam Sprout. I moved to Fairbanks 30 years ago, and like a lot of people in Alaska, I came up for a short-term job, and I never left because we love this state, and we want to protect this state. But I have the answer, so maybe we can even end before 7:30 because I can tell you how to be a hero. You find 4 or 5 of your buddies, maybe Senator Murkowski too, that would be really fun, and hold hands if you're too scared, and you walk over to the Democratic side and you start voting with them because they make sense, and then we could get Trump out of office. I want to know what Trump has over all of you that you are so scared of that you will not stand up for the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Sullivan, Arthur Conopole here. This is going to be really short. But what has happened to your morals and ethics, and how do you sleep at night? It's disgusting what we see amongst the Republicans. I might get some hate on this. I used to vote Republican. They were a better group back then, but they have lost it. And I urge all of us in any upcoming election to contribute largely, be vocal, show up at these meetings. It means a big difference. You influence other people, people who may be a little, I'm not an activist, I don't like politics. This is our life to come if we sit silently. But again, what happened to your morals? Where are your ethics? And how do you sleep at night? Thank you.
Senator Sullivan, I call you every day. You should know who I am by now. Suaquistapes, I've been in Alaska since 1974, and I got a lot of notes, but I don't have a speech. I have been trying to give our Republican Party a little bit of grace and say, okay, all these people, they own the House, they own the Senate, why are they rolling over for the narcissistic psychopath in the White House? And so I thought, maybe, just maybe they're afraid. I don't know if y'all heard, but Elon Musk actually posted the name, address, phone number of the daughter of a judge that went against him recently, put it out on, yeah. And I've heard that at least 6 of our senators have been threatened by the narcissist. He calls them personally. And then, of course, we all know that Musk says he's going to primary them if they don't go his way, because he bought the presidency. He could certainly buy a senatorship. So I thought, well, I'm going to still talk. I'm going to still call these people. And I want to talk just for a moment about Kash Patel. I'm just picking on him because he's such a complete effing asshole. It's easy. All right. Someday I'll tell you how I feel about the guy. I happen that my whole life I've been in law enforcement, and I really am irritated that he's in charge of the FBI. So there's a whole lot of things they say about Kash Patel, but what's of import here is he's only ever worked for Trump. He's a defense somebody somewhere, it doesn't really matter. He was I'm trying to find the thing here. He was a senior aide to Congressman Devin Nunes when Nunes was the chair of the House Intelligence Committee. Patel played a key role in helping Republicans discredit the investigations into Trump and Russian interference in the 2016 election, which we all know occurred, it has been proven. Patel has promoted several conspiracy theories about the deep state, that's us, 2020 election fraud, BS, QAnon, COVID-19 vaccines, and the January 6 United States Capitol attack. He denies all of this. Oh no, that was a day of love. Yeah, we got that. He's got his own nonprofit that he says he's stepped away from. He certainly has not. This is not a man who should be running our FBI. I think we can all agree. I'm feeling special. I've got not 1, not 2, but 3 letters back from Dan Sullivan.
I think that's a record.
I think it is. That should tell you how often he's been hearing from me. Anyway, I have a letter here that I printed out that he sent to me, and it's all just, status quo, somebody printed it. But then, in response to why he voted for Kash Patel, because I said don't vote, he did, then he sent me a letter why he voted. This is cut and pasted in here. This is telling me that Dan Sullivan is not afraid of the narcissist. Dan Sullivan is not worried about, Dan Sullivan backs the MAGA movement. Dan Sullivan is in it up to his neck. A sizable number of Americans have come, and he mansplains to me all his 5 bullet points for the week. A sizable number of Americans have come to believe that the Justice Department and FBI, a sizable number of Americans have come to believe that the Justice Department and FBI provide politicized justice, an extremely troubling recent development. In other words, we held the narcissist accountable for his illegal acts, and that somehow was politicized justice. It is vital for our democracy that, Dan, do you know what democracy, look it up. I'm not going to tell you what it is. That Americans have faith in our system of justice. Hello? I have consistently called on the Attorney General and the FBI Director to give the American people the answers, transparency, and confidence they deserve. Dan, we've done the same with you, but you're not here. Just saying. Prior to his confirmation, I met with Mr. Patel, and he committed to visit Alaska. Woohoo! Gives us a shot, guys. Oh, did I say that? We discussed many important issues that are concerning, such as national security threats in Alaska, like the Russians that we can see from our backyard. We're going to be in their backyard shortly, as well as the dangerous fentanyl epidemic we are experiencing throughout the state. So he basically is totally behind this guy, right? Now let's talk about this fentanyl business, because I'm sorry, I'm rabbiting here.
I don't want to cut you off, but I do want to let you know we have about 10 minutes left.
I will make it short. Okay. Fentanyl. Donald Trump, you know that he pardoned all the J6ers, right? You may not have heard that he also pardoned Ross Ulbricht. Ross Ulbricht ran the Silk Road dark web net that had over 10,000 illegal drugs available for years to drug dealers worldwide. It took the United States Navy and all of their intel to catch this guy, and Donald Trump pardoned him. Mr. I don't want drugs coming across the border, pardoned him because He is a libertarian, and the Libertarian Party told Trump they would vote for him if he pardoned Ulbricht, and that is what happened. And then one last thing, and I will leave, I promise. Today, Lauren Boebert, needs no introduction, has informed the Republicans who own the House and the Senate that she wants them to impeach any judge that takes a vote or decides against Donald Trump. And I also want to say in regard to Khalil, who was deported, the Venezuelans that were deported without due process, that today Donald Trump has said that anyone who advocates for climate change or green energy is a terrorist and a thug. So guess who he's coming for next?
Me. Okay. If we want to get a few people up here, we have someone. Okay, we're gonna go over here. Are there 3 people over here? Will one of you guys move over to this mic so we can get to you a little faster? Oh, well, never mind then. You go.
All right, I can be quick. Senator Sullivan, my name is Jessica Larson. I've lived in Fairbanks for almost 28 years now. I love it here. The community here is amazing. I moved up from California, and I just love how helpful and close-knit this community is. That's one of the reasons why I've stayed. Senator Sullivan, I am not a political scientist. I am not a historian. However, there are certain, you could call it the playbook, I guess, that dictators and dictatorships take when they are moving in and taking over a country. One is they come for the civil servants. They fire mass swaths of civil servants, which we're seeing right now, and install loyalists. The second, they come for clergy, like Marianne Boudet, the Episcopalian bishop in Washington, D.C., who had the courage to call him out for being unmerciful. And he responded by flaming her out. They frighten and intimidate people into submission. I think we're seeing that with a lot of our senators and representatives in Congress these days. They perpetrate cruelty and revenge to get people in line so that people are afraid to speak up and resist. And so I'm just curious, because if I'm not a historian or a political scientist, if I can even recognize these signs and these frightening things that are happening in our country right now due to the Trump administration's deliberate actions, either you don't recognize this, and in which case, why are you a senator? You should recognize this. Or are you ignoring this? In which case, I just stated what I think you shouldn't be a senator. Or are you too afraid to stand up? And I would really like to hear from you about why you're not standing up.
Thank you. All right, the floor is yours.
Hi, Flat Dan. I was going to talk about Medicaid and the reinvestment program that's at risk now, and how 1/3 of Alaskans are on Medicaid, and 25,000 get their insurance through the marketplace, and those rates are going to be going up by like 67% if Trump gets his way and cuts that program. But anyway, the whole point of that, beyond people being at risk, is that our rural hospitals are at risk. And somebody else eloquently talked about that. So I'm going to talk about national security, because it seems to me that you kind of pride yourself on being a Marine and into national security. I am astounded by the actions that this administration has taken. And I have a huge long list, and I'll just pick out a couple. But the United States owns Gaza and is going to develop it for the people of the world. Is that not the biggest terrorist recruitment ad that you've ever heard? What are you thinking? There's the firing of countless law enforcement and defense people, alienating our allies endangers shared intelligence, which has protected our country for years and years. Ceding soft power to other countries. It leaves us pulling back all the aid and all the international support we've given to other people. Leaves a big hole for China and Russia to step into and gain global influence. They're already doing it. in Africa for sure. Just one more thing. Elon Musk, how much does our military and our intelligence community rely on his companies? And what is he decided to turn off Starlink for the Ukrainians. He's a pretty, unstable kind of person, and if he takes offense at something, is he going to shut off that for our military? How vital to our defense? So I'll stop there so other people can talk, but I think this is crazy town.
Thank you. Just one moment. Are you in line? All right, so we have 2 more people behind you and 2 people right here. And I'm sorry, but we're going to have to cut it off because we just won't have time to get through anyone else. But if you would still like to say something to the senator, we have public comment cards in the back. We will be attempting to hand deliver them directly to him, if not one of his staff members. And so if you have something you'd like to say and we didn't get to you, please go fill one of those out and we'll get it to him. All right, we're going to start over here, and then we'll head this way.
Senator Sullivan, please stand up and say no to cutting Medicaid and Medicare. I'm worried for seniors like my 94-year-old mom who may need to go into a nursing home. I want to make sure that there are nursing homes for her to go to if Medicaid is cut, or when Medicaid is cut, and they are closed. When Jesus said to care for the poor, honor mothers and fathers, not steal, not kill, welcome the stranger, and be truthful, I take this to heart. Do you? It doesn't appear so based on the actions of the people you have supported.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to you.
Hi, Dan. My name is Holly Dean, born and raised here in Fairbanks. Absolutely terrified to be standing here in front of a room full of people talking. Apparently you are too. Everything that everybody has said tonight weighs really heavily on my heart, like I'm sure everybody else's. Excuse me, this is why I don't do this. But something else that weighs heavy on my heart. Sorry. It's okay. Deep breath. We feel the same. Yeah. You got this. Sorry. My 6-year-old son is in kindergarten this year, and he told me recently that what he would like to do when he grows up is be a scientist and work at the university, just like his mom and dad. And that makes me incredibly proud, but it makes me also terrified that none of those dreams are going to come true. So I hope that you can think about that, not just all the other big things, but the little things. And our students and our children who are only in kindergarten, they're going to spend the rest of their lives affected by this. All the choices that are being made. And we expect you to stand up for them and do better and make a good future for them.
Thank you.
My name is Ed DeBevick. I want to first say thanks to everyone here for coming and speaking. It feels really good to come out of our silos and share these things with friends and neighbors. So I'm honored to add my voice to yours. As for you, Senator, every day I wake up and feel like my heart has been ripped from my chest. Every day is another outrage as this administration rips the heart out of our country. They pit neighbor against neighbor within the U.S. They pit neighbor against neighbor, ally against ally on the world stage while praising our enemies. They put our safety at risk. They put our health at risk. They put our economy at risk. All this and you say nothing. Left unchecked, our country may never recover. As a senator, isn't this your job? Checks and balances? And if you can't find it in yourself to be that check, why are you even in the Senate? It's not too late. You can still do the right thing. If not, it is time to step aside and let someone else do the job.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go with you, and then we're going to end over here with our host who has something to say.
Hello, my name is Sean Marble. I've spent the last 7 of my 8 years in Fairbanks at UAF, and I've seen firsthand how much research happens there that benefits everyone in the state. So, Senator Sullivan, I ask you this. Who benefits from cutting education funding? It's certainly not Alaska and the communities around the state. Who benefits from cutting funding to AVO and firing key employees? Certainly not the citizens of Anchorage that are about to be under a cloud of ash. Who benefits from cutting Medicaid and Medicare? Certainly not those with pre-existing conditions that would get otherwise have no health care. And lastly, who benefits from cutting SNAP and food benefits? Certainly not the 11% of the country that is below the poverty line. And so I'll leave you with this. If you want to know what happens when people are starving and angry, just take a look at France in the late 1700s.
All right, and just a reminder, if there's something you wanted to say and you didn't get to it because of time, we have public comment cards. Please fill one out, and we will make sure that it gets to him or someone very close to him. All right.
Senator Sullivan, setting up town halls to hear the concerns of your constituents is not my job. I don't have a staff to do this. I don't have a budget for doing this. But I really don't mind because it's been a lot of fun. And I'm perfectly willing to do it again. And again, and again. My question for you is, will you show up?
Thank you. All right, and just 1 second. Let's give a quick moment of silence for all the unanswered questions that Senator Sullivan declined to answer. And I'm going to pass it back to our host. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
First and foremost, I would like to thank Bella, because I was not prepared to stand up here this whole time. So I have the same question for you that I had for Senator Sullivan. If we do this again, will you show up? Will you bring a friend? Not for this room. This room's $50. That well worth the investment. Now, if we do a bigger room, we will probably crowdfund that. The Carlson Center is not free. But, well, yes. And thank you. We did not think of that one. Yeah, thank you all for coming. This has been really heartening, even though we talked about some stuff that is not fun to talk about. I really appreciate hearing everybody pulling together, supporting each other. We will definitely get those comment forms to the senator or his staff. And yeah, thank you all so much. Thank you to all the volunteers. Drive safe, be calm in the parking lot.